We on? What camera? I'm talking to this one. Jake, can you show me that guy right there? Left guy. Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. I am your co-host Strat Daddy. We have another live pod for the people. You guys loved it last time, and we have a special guest, the world's sexiest Mexican, Mr. Rafael Cortez. Thank you so much for joining us.
so glad to be here,
All
guys.
the way from Phoenix.
Yeah, you're giving me a different type of hype. I've never gotten that before. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, I put on my sexy shirt for you too. I mean, Jason told me it's a fishnet shirt. I didn't know it was a fishnet shirt until Jason said so.
I got some fishnet pants I might be wearing this evening, so I don't know. We'll see.
I love it. Let me get this bitch live.
It's
You
fine.
live on your IG?
Yeah, looks like I am.
Sweet. All right. If you guys are tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Dino's live. Jason's live. All right. I can put my laptop down. Real quick, I'm your co-host, Stratton Brown, aka Strat Batty. I've scaled 2 different companies to 7 figures. Right now, we're on a 0 to a million challenge, wholesaling houses nationwide. I'm documenting everything on YouTube and Facebook. Feel free to give me a follow. And actually, I'm gonna catch this one right now. If this show has given you any value, do not forget to hit like and subscribe. We need to up our YouTube presence. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, listen to it on the podcast app. Show us some support. Give us 5 stars. I don't even know if we're on Spotify. I can't find us right now.
We are.
Okay. But don't forget, like and subscribe. We're trying to give you guys as much gas as possible. And our goal is to help you guys implement all the things we learn. We bring on some of the best entrepreneurs we personally know and don't know to come give you as much value as possible. We have the master of hair today, getting ready for grease, cutting out all the carbs, looking fucking juicy,
Literally.
like a Dorito chip.
I haven't tasted a carb in like 5 days, guys, so I'm running on fumes right now. It's bad. It's bad. Going to Greece on Monday, so we're cramming in 3 weeks worth of work in the next 4 or 5 days. But I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming down, brother. I'm really looking forward to tonight's event. I'm your other co-host, Jason Pritchard. Quick backstory on me is I worked in corporate America for 15 years. Hated my job. We burned all the boats in 2014. Have not looked back since. We've done 450 deals. We own a rental portfolio of just north of 100 units, mainly here in Central California. And like we always say, the goal of this pod is to try to transfer as many of the real life learning lessons that we can to you guys that are watching today, to the people that are coming to the meetup tonight, so you can skip past all our mistakes and get to where you want to go as fast as possible.
Go ahead, Captain America. Shout out Shanae with the Captain America.
Yeah, quick shout out to Shanae. I didn't bring it with me on the plane, but next week I'll definitely be showcasing Shanae's gift. I can already tell she's an amazing gift giver. She's got a similar quality to you. Very thoughtful. So she came back with full force. Captain America, shout out to Shanae from Resimply. So how cute do we look on this love seat? I'm looking down at the camera right here. We look good. Jason's breaking out of his comfort zone.
Right? Get like touching other people.
Look at all this thigh.
Like,
there's a lot of thigh right here.
close.
There's a lot of thigh. Yeah. So guys, Dean Rogers, your other co-host, aka Captain America. My story is I started my career in the NFL, then I transitioned to corporate, then transitioned into real estate. I've been doing real estate now for just over 10 years. We are just about to hit 700 deals that we have done. Getting close to that. We're doing 100 deals a year, and we are coaching students how to get started in real estate with the wholesaling playbook. You guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com. Super excited to have Rafael Cortez here. Shout out to True Player OG from Phoenix, Arizona. So excited for today's podcast.
Shout out to Dino real quick on those killer KPIs. Jason, have you been seeing the KPIs he's been posting?
You gotta
He's
check him out.
He's like 1 in 5 right now.
Yeah, KPIs are
He's the
pretty hot.
contract 1 in 5.
Last week was like 32 leads, 5 deals. I can't remember how many offers we had, but it was under 10.
To me, that's fucking insane. In the state of California, that is like
They're pretty good right now.
orgasmic, honestly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like,
Way more leads. And then we have the world's sexiest
There you go.
Mexican, the man who's helped me out so much in business, Mr. Rafael Cortez.
Guys, it's great to be here again, man. Last pod we had was a lot of fun. We had to do it over Zoom. It's way more fun right in person, so it's always a pleasure hanging out. Thank you guys for the invite. My name is Rafael. I'm out of Phoenix, Arizona, so that's mainly it started as my main market. I come from the fire department background. I used to be a firefighter, then launched my first business, which was a non-emergency medical transportation business. In the interim, in around 2009, I started doing real estate. fix and flip, got into wholesaling, and I just haven't looked back since then. Right? So I've been doing it for a long time, and now we do deals nationwide. So it's been a ride. Right? So yeah, that's we.
We need to get people's like pedigree so we can give them like a true announcement, like, hey, Rafael Cortez, accomplishment, right? Like, and just like name them off for like 5 minutes, make them feel really good, hype it up, and then have them come in, and we could have them like walk in from over there, have like the lights flashing, the whole thing. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Smoke. Mariachi playing.
For you, yeah.
That's what I got for you.
Oh yeah.
Which one do we want to start with? Let me grab my iPad. Did we want to start with the housing credit? I think we should save that one for a little bit later.
We can save it.
I think we should save that one for a little bit later. All right. One big thing that Jason brought up: how is the Phoenix housing market actually doing? I don't know if you're doing a ton of deals over there anymore. Well, like, what are you seeing? Because I know Central California, according to these two, is on fire. Some of our innovations in smaller cities are sitting, and I think that may be due to incompetence on our end. But it seems like it's not like on fire. What are you seeing in Phoenix, and what are you seeing nationwide?
I wouldn't say it's on fire. I mean, for example, Phoenix is a pretty interesting market, man. Like we see trends in Phoenix, and then you see the ripple effect like 2 months later, 4 or 5 months later, across the country, right? But it's usually one of those hubs where a lot of things start happening first, and it just kind of keys into the rest of the way the market is going to behave. If you go in websites like Fred Data, for example, and you follow the trend lines of whatever stats you're looking at in the space of real estate, you look at nationwide trend lines, and then you go back 5 months and whatnot, or half a year, and look at Phoenix trend lines, and they almost overlap. It's pretty interesting. But it's not I wouldn't say it's a hot market. There are definitely more deals popping up in terms of pre-foreclosure. It's always been pretty competitive when it comes to the real estate investment, the wholesale side. We are seeing, like, for example, I just got stuck with a property that I thought was just gonna absolutely, rock, right? And when it came down to the dispo side, it took it down. When it came down to the dispo side, it was we ended up just, flat on our bellies. I actually lost a little bit of cash on that one because we just, it sat on the market and it didn't move. There was no interest, and it was one of those deals that, man, that should have moved. So you see some anomalies like that, but I feel like, more than the market temperature, it's I think like this, it's the psychology right now behind the buyers. Like everybody's just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with interest rates. If you're a traditional buyer, on the investor side, just kind of sitting back and waiting to see what kind of battle we're going to take on here, coming up, especially with the political climate. So it's not I wouldn't say it's a hot market by any means. It's a very competitive market. But yeah, things are taking a little longer to sell, even on the traditional side. So we have to get super crafty. Like if we just adjusted our acquisition thresholds for the offers, so we would have more room on the dispo side to create some, additional incentive for buyers.
When you say sitting a little bit longer, are you thinking like 30 days? Like, what do you see?
Yeah, you're seeing average days on market to be 30 days, 45 days more than what they normally would, or what they were maybe 3 months ago, 4 months ago. So it's getting substantially.
So with these attorney and facts that you're doing, are you still just coming in like 10% cheaper now, no matter what?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have to be the cheapest property. We still go for the for the wholesale offer. There's going to be a value add proposition to that property, right? But we take that and we have an investor pricing, so off-market pricing whenever we push it. Then when we do the attorney fact and actually throw it up in the MLS, we'll bump it up another 10-15% to cover for expenses and then give room for concessions and whatever it is that we're going to do. Right. So it's mainly a buyer finding strategy for us. It usually yields, a little bit higher of a profit than the other, but it's. The main reason for it, and I mentioned this before the pod, we have a handful of really good buyers that we've gotten in the past from sports stuff. So you build those relationships. Now you come back to real estate, and it's a different type of avatar too. You're gonna find a different type of buyer usually for the most part. You're not gonna have your high volume, flipper normally. Go look for stuff in the MLS. It's like an agent. They usually go, direct to seller or to wholesaler.
So I know Phoenix is a super competitive market, like you said. Is it an absolute bloodbath when it comes to trying to find leads? Is it just extremely more difficult? Are you having to spend that much more money to try to get your leads and deals, or is the market so big there's enough room for everybody?
I think it's a little bit of all of the above, right? So it's not just the fact that competition is out there and everybody's doing marketing and this, and wholesaling got popular, right? Once it got popular, I mean, you have a lot of people jumping in, a lot of people making crazy offers, a lot of people getting pissed off because they can't perform, so I mean that has to do a lot to do with it, or that has a lot to do with it. But also, like depending on the marketing strategy, like for us, backbone marketing strategy has always been cold call, right? So when you factor in new regulation, compliance, everything that that we now have to go through to have a successful cold calling operation, yeah, I mean that tightens the ability, right, to market. So it weeds people out. So a lot of people just kind of fall off the ranks and either that or pivot. So we did a combination of the two. Still have a cold calling operation. It's a lot smaller than what it used to be, but went a lot heavier on the pay-per-click side, right? So
which I heard is really difficult and expensive there. Yes,
bro, if you don't have the belly for it, like don't even touch it. You gotta have reserves and thick skin for at least 6 months. I feel like to start seeing some of that continuous lead generation. But it's pretty interesting, man. And ebbs and flows. Like you go through the process of figuring that out, and we've been in it for about 6 months, so we're starting to see that, right? We're starting to see the light. And at this point, just with the combination of the deals that we closed and the amount that we put in, we haven't had it's not a big, massive return on those yet. But it's coming. We're seeing the lead flow coming in, a lot more frequent. I think this week so far we're at. I think I checked today. We're at around. What's today? Wednesday? Yeah, we were Tuesday. Oh, Tuesday. Okay, so time with you guys flies.
Just have a good time. It feels like Thursday.
Yeah. So, but we've had around 14 leads or something, 14 or 15 leads that people see, right? Out of those 14 or 15, we have about 6 that we're actually working as prospects. So yeah, but it's still higher quality lead than the cold call lead that we get.
How many of those are like trash leads? I'd say 10 to 30% of the leads through online are like trash.
No, I would say more, at least for us right now.
Really?
Yeah, and this is, I mean, we went nationwide, not nationwide. Well, yeah, we are nationwide, but we honed in on 20 specific counties. So I did research in 20 counties that have the population and the just the stuff that I look for when I'm doing research on the market, and we went heavier on those. However, we're getting leads all over the place. Like, it just happens, right, when you open up broad. But right now, I mean, we're seeing it's almost like a 50-50, honestly. Like we get a lot of bad numbers, bad leads, and then it's funny, but you'll see like I don't know, we get trolls. Like somebody will start messing around with the web form. And then just fill out web forms because they have too much time on their hands and they think it's funny.
And some bots.
Yeah, bots, and
you get a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, so it happens. I mean, there's things that you have to mitigate, but as you go through the process, you find really good stuff. So I mean, we've had, for example, one of the deals was a deal in Tucson, 55 kg. So the profit per deal tends to be higher as well. It's another thing that I've noticed. And I mean, it's just a different breed of lead. You just have to build up to it because Google won't just open the door.
All right. So explain your research on the top 20 markets, because that was one thing that we were looking at in the challenge. Drew was like, bro, give me 20 markets. I was like, honestly, just give me something with a population over 100,000. The price point on average is above 150 to 200.
It's actually pretty close to that. I go 300 plus in population. It's just going to be big enough for me to kind of assure, right, that there's a buyer's market. So I'll do that. I always look at the median price point for the range, and I'll do an individual search. For example, if the median price point in the county or the metro area is 300, right?
I think that's like the good size because like we've done 100,000 and below.
Yeah.
And when you're doing 10K assignments, they reduce down to 5 to 2,000 very, very fast.
The amount of work, dude, it's still the same. You're still dealing with people's emotions. That people have to, be evicted. You still have to go through probate. You still have to go through all that, stuff that we go through on bigger deals as well. It's just your target area, right? Is like the price points are going to be lower. So we found, I mean, it's more struggle, and there's areas out there that are not necessarily like super swamped with offers that are still working. I mean, we were talking about it earlier, but we're doing really good in Florida. There's markets in Florida that are, they have a lot of industrial coming in, and new development opportunity and whatnot. So you see the trend lines of where the areas are going. But I start with 300,000 in population. I like to have a price point that's at least $250,000 and above, right? And so we have some some deeper profits. And then I look at days on market. So if my days on market on a market are 120 and above, like, ooh, it's a very slow market. You know what I mean? We want to have better turnover on the deals, or better flow on the deals. So there's a couple of things that I look at, and going through that, I don't get too crazy on it. It's basically like analysis paralysis is going to kick in too. Like if you start looking at all the little details on the market, you're not going to be able to figure it out until you're in it, right? So okay, this looks decent. It has the top 3, 4, 5 criteria that I'm looking for. Go to town on it. Drop a marketing campaign. Another one thing that's easy to do is to drop a cold calling campaign in markets like that to just kind of test it out before you dump a bunch of money on PPC. So yeah, but I mean that's what I've done. I identified 20 markets that I do business in primarily, or market 2, but we still get a whole bunch of deals outside of that. So it just kind of feeds the entire.
So Jason and I are in Central California market. That's where our core business is.
Yeah.
Stratton's doing the $1 million challenge.
Bam.
Doing it nationwide, right? You're doing nationwide and target select markets, Phoenix being your backyard. What are you seeing in terms of the competition? Because we all preach there's enough deals for everybody, right? And potentially, I don't know, you'll have to tell me if in your market it's so saturated with that there isn't enough deals for everybody, or what you're seeing across the nation in these other markets. Is it collaborative? Do people like to work together and they're open to collaborating and working, or are they throwing elbows, playing dirty, and it's
I think
first one to the top wins?
Collaboration really, like at least in our vertical, man, it's a blue ocean. Like it's certain groups or certain silos of communities are willing to do it just because that's how they're learning the process. But I mean, you still see a lot of snakiness out there, especially like one of our methods for lead generation is door knocking, believe it or not. It's actually last year it was our biggest source of deals. We did 88 deals from door knocking alone. But no, like all those deals were in Phoenix, so our market. So I mean, we were just going to town on it. It's rough, it's brutal. Like it's not just for the people doing the door knocking, right, or team out there, but the deals tend to be messier because we're going after pre-foreclosures and stuff like that. So the space for opportunity is there if you're willing to put in the work, right? There's easier ways of doing it. Like if you go down the PPC route and you're okay dealing with that delayed gratification, it's gonna build up. But anyways, last year we were doing we're still doing it. We're still doing it. Actually, we're doing in Jacksonville as well. We're doing door knocking with a door knocking team over there, and we have a couple of guys in Indianapolis and Texas as well. So those are not full blown big heavy teams, but they're getting the wheels going, and we'll generate deals off of that. But like in that particular marketing avenue, right? There you see a lot of it's like cutthroat.
Door knocking specifically.
Savage. Yeah. Door knocking. Yeah. In general. So in that particular marketing avenue. So yeah, I mean, I guess it all depends. Like people are gonna if you call somebody, right? People are gonna and somebody else calls them as well. They're gonna try to undercut you. I mean, it's a shark industry still, unfortunately. But
just to tie into what Dean was saying about the start in Phoenix and then branching out nationwide, was that, Rafael, for you guys just because you were ready and evolved to a point where you're ready to take on more, or was it partially like, hey, it's gotten hyper competitive in Phoenix and maybe we need to look into some of these other markets, a mix of both? Like, because nationwide, I feel like has become kind of in vogue and a little bit popular, and then I think people look at it when they're coming from a hyper competitive market like California or Phoenix, and they think like, hey, maybe it's just easier for us to do this? What was your thought process behind doing that?
It was actually almost I was pretty comfortable in Phoenix, or the Maricopa County, right, and area, but the deal started to get, we started getting less volume.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's competitive. And we did really good there, but it was, like I said, it was brutal. It was like, there's got to be an easier way. So we started doing some training and coaching on that particular vertical, which is door knocking. Looked at different areas. We ended up having boots on the ground in Florida, right? So it was, all right, let's give it a shot in Florida. So it just kind of became one of those things that it was a window of opportunity, right? That kind of fell into place. Like, we have the resources. Let me figure this out, create the SOPs, see how we can manage this thing and keep it accountable, and rolled it out. The guy turned out to be a beast. So he started logging a whole bunch of stuff. He's like, oh, I'm liking this. And we got heavier into that market. And then, because we're already in there, we started doing, cold calling. We started adding the other bolt-on strategies. So doing that there just kind of, gave us insight as to, okay, this is how we can roll it out in different markets and go about it. You still have to have a reliable, like, boots on the ground type of crew, right, to run it. But aside from that, like, the next thing that comes close that's scalable and I feel as effective is PPC. So that's kind of like the pivot that I've taken over the last 6 months or so.
I've gotten a few questions coming in my chat about the door knocking. Is there a high level, maybe surface level, that you can give? Is it just notice of defaults, or is it only notice of trustee sales where the auction is closer? Are you just getting the homeowner's information, capturing it, putting it in your system, and then putting them through a normal sales process? Or is it a little bit different from like how you guys approach those leads versus maybe like a PPC lead?
Yeah, so we've actually had internal. We built software for that specifically. But the biggest thing is going to be figuring out how to get the data first. Like, when we go to PropStream or any of the data providers, like, they're delayed.
Yep.
You have a 9-day delay, 12-day delay. Some areas, I mean, you have they'll be posted on, for example, the county website, and the data is not exported soon enough because they're not on websites. They're you have to call in, and it gets more difficult, and people don't do that legwork. But for us, what's been effective is having the information right out of the gate. Like, for example, we dialed that process in Maricopa County, and literally, like, we'll have people out there on the road, right? Like, we have drivers. They already set up their schedule from the night before, and they're going through it. They're going through our software, and as the notices are getting posted, the drivers are getting notified.
Wow.
So it's real time. It's about as fast as you can get on it, right? A lot of times the crazy thing is that you show up to somebody's door, and they don't know about it yet.
Wow.
So when you bring,
and everybody else that's using PropRadar or PropStream is a week to 10 days behind you.
Yeah, exactly. So people will come in, later at that point.
You get a lot of pushback from sellers or homeowners that you're showing up at the door, they're surprised.
Oh, I'm sure.
This is
They don't even really know about it. I mean, sure, they probably expecting it because they haven't made a payment, right?
Yeah.
But what are some of the most common objections that you guys get, and why doors are getting slammed in the face, or why you're able to keep that door open and overcome it?
Well, you're always gonna have pushback, right? It's an uncomfortable conversation. They don't know you. You're a stranger there, talking, telling them that they haven't made the payment. So it's not for the faint of heart. But one of the things that we do, for example, is that we'll pull in a lot of these counties. You can pull the actual PDF of the document.
Yeah.
And if they start, for example, pushing back, no, it's not me. It's okay, I'm sorry. There must be a misunderstanding, because I'm looking at, this is coming from the county.
Yeah.
This is the document that was filed. You're Mrs. John Doe, right?
Yeah.
Or Jane Doe. Yeah. And like, correct. Oh, your lender is, Wells Fargo, right? Or whatever, right? It's on there. I can send this to you if you want it. I mean, you'll probably get it on the mail if you haven't, gotten it yet. But it's, at that point, it's not you trying to convince them. It's like, this is just the information that we have, right? And then it's not about, trying to, like, get them into a tight corner, or being, make them feel uncomfortable or anything like that. It's like, we legit, like, give them ways of coming out of that, winning on the other side.
Approach of help.
Yeah, hey, listen, not that we want to get into this, consultative basis with them or anything like that. But listen, talk to we'll tell them, like, figure it out. Have you had a conversation with your lender yet? Like, no, okay, so make sure you talk to the lender. They're gonna have some questions for you. They're gonna, there's gonna be maybe certain things that they can do, and try to educate them as much as possible. Right at that point, it's not it's not a consulting session or anything like that, but it's a route for somebody when they have absolutely no idea what to do. I mean, people are freaking out at that point.
Why not consulting?
Liability.
Yeah. You're just like, hey, no, if I tell someone the wrong thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and like anything else, right? We're not like, for example, we will not present ourselves as foreclosure experts. We're not, even though we've done hundreds and hundreds, and at this point, thousands of deals like that, combined between my partners and I. It's like, we don't want to bring that to. So we will give them direction on, as to, okay, contact your lender, talk to this person, right? If, again, as we're going through this process of the options that they may have, right? We include ours, right? If, it comes to worse, keep me as a plan B.
Yep.
And you can cash out your equity. We do, this is how we operate, and then, make the offer and whatnot. So you have that conversation in there, but you become almost like a support, person for that for that seller. And I mean, a lot of times they're gonna try 1,000 things, and I kid you not, man. They called. I mean, we had an ops meeting this morning, and on the one of the sellers or leads called yesterday, because their house was going to foreclosure this morning at 10.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that kind of stuff. It's pretty hard to stop. Unless we come in and then we actually,
All the stars have to align to stop.
yeah, private money and whatnot. So at that point, we have to rerun numbers, and everybody goes on, high alert and all hands on deck and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's again, it's a pretty challenging type of marketing, strategy, I guess, method. It has high yields, but it also has a lot of leg.
Yeah.
Right? And it's hard. It's harder to scale, because when you're setting up boots on the ground in different markets. I mean, somebody went to a party last night, they didn't show up. Like now you have your 25 less, doors that you're gonna knock.
Yeah. When you say it's a lot more work, what does your back end admin team look like? Because I wanted to bring this up with cold calling, like the amount of people that are needed to get that thing to the finish line, compared to just doing all inbound marketing. Not like door. Is it a lot of work that way, or do you have like more TCs?
It is, yeah. So it's 2 TCs for sure for that kind of stuff, and of course, like having really really good relationships with your title agencies. But yeah, we are gonna have at least 2 people working that type of stuff, because when it comes to pre-foreclosure, it's kind of like the flu. When you get the flu, it's because you have something else. Yeah, so it's kind of, pre-foreclosure is a lot like that. So they have, okay, somebody's in pre-foreclosure, but there might also be a divorce. There might also be a probate. There might also be an eviction. There might also be, something else. So it's like, for example, working right now, originally a pre-foreclosure lead turned out to be a probate, that turned out to be a double probate, that turned out to have 6 different signers on that agreement. I mean, so that's what I'm talking about, deals getting super messy. Yeah, so on the plus side, though, like the other wholesalers saw that, I was like, I'm not touching that. And we went through with it because we have the resources and the team in place.
That's typically the way. The harder it is with anything, the less people that's going to be there, and usually the reward should scale accordingly with that, right? But as long as you have the infrastructure, the team, and everything, again, for everybody that's watching and maybe just tuned in, Rafael did 88 deals last year just from door knocking alone.
Right.
One of the that's a lot. That's very, very impressive.
That's a lot of effort.
Yeah. So if you're coming to the meetup tonight, I'm sure we're going to dive into that and talk about that a little bit more. But we're all looking for ways.
I'm doing a breakdown of my business model, how my team is set up, and the responsibilities. So I think that'll answer your question.
I love it.
Well, you hit on the effort part of that. Foreclosure, the door knocking, that's a ton of effort. I mean, we have about 40 deals in escrow right now, and almost half of those have some sort of a title issue, most of them around probate, or siblings not agreeing, like all these different things that you're going to see. So I can imagine that wrapped around the foreclosure situation too creates a lot higher intensity, because now there's a ticking time bomb you're dealing with as well, having to overcome. So that's tough.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to talk about pivoting away from cold calling. I used to be like the cold calling guy. And then now, after thinking about it, cold calling has gotten so hard because of all the regulations and everything else. All of the team you need to have in place to abide by the whatever laws are in place, to manage the people, to hire the new people who quit, to like all that other stuff. Even though you may be getting a less cost per lead, less cost per deal, the amount of time and effort that goes into that, you'll save money on just the operational side on the back end if you just spend the money on inbound leads. It's like where I've come to as far as like having to handle all the back end and then now seeing what the other side looks like on Nick Perry's side. Nick's like, bro, I just get leads and then we work the leads and I don't have to worry about all of that management on the back end. And it really is so much easier, at least on my end.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly how it works. Again, you have, I mean, there's a big difference, right? When we're reaching out to somebody at a time of distress, which is what we were, trying to do originally. But when somebody's reaching out to you, you don't have to, you don't have to open up any doors. You don't have to, like, they're coming to you with a problem, right? Because they know you have a solution somehow, some way. So then it becomes just a matter of alignment. But then what happens is when somebody's coming to you, for the most part, they're going to be willing to, they're part of your team. The seller is part of your team. They're willing to cooperate. They're willing to, if they need paperwork or signatures or whatever, like the pain is big enough. They decide.
Not having to overcome the "Are you interested?"
Yeah.
question at nearly as much. I mean, from time to time, you probably still will too. So you just got the sweet, sweet taste of pay per lead with your challenge you're going through, and you used to be all cold calling. So, and it sounds like, Rafael, you have been in the past heavy cold calling. I know Jason's done lots of cold calling, still does. How big is your cold calling operation now?
No, I dialed it back. Right now we have three cold callers, so it's not a big team at all. And it's very niched out lists. For example, one of the lists that I'm hitting that we're having good results with is the AI list through Really Flow.
Yeah. That's working good.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a pretty good list that we're going through. So you can if you haven't seen that out there, but you can actually like it has a scoring system. We go 500 plus on the probability of sale. So that's on the wholesale. Anyways, that's one of the lists, right? And we're going through that, and we'll deploy that in different markets. And then the door knocking stuff is, I mean, that's so we have different avenues of leads that are coming in. But yeah, cold calling definitely got a lot smaller. Yeah, my team used to be way bigger.
With that, how have you seen like Really Flow versus like Audantic, 80/20, Investor Machine? Because like we had our best results for our clients when we were doing it would be with like Investor Machine or 80/20 was like the best results with cold calling, and then whatever niche stuff you could pull from like the county.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you went bigger, it just the life cycle of that lead takes really, really long. So like with Really Flow and what that is, it even worth it to go spend $60,000 on Audantic when Really Flow's AI data is still solid?
I haven't done that with Audantic, so I mean I couldn't really speak to it. What I've done is I've done a lot of lead stacking, and in the markets that I'm in. I mean, at this point, I own the markets or the data, right, for all the markets. So if anything, I'll skip trace it, every couple of years. But what I do is I'll stack. I'll create different buckets per se, right? So I'll have a stack of absentee owner, lists, and then I'll have a separate stack of tax delinquent and code violations, and I have different stacks. And as I'm going through this, I mean, I use Batch Lead Stacker for just filtering it out and put it all together. So what I did is I would put together buckets, and the way that I was uploading was just a little different. And I would look at which ones I would start at 6+ filters. So I would pull a list of 20,000 people that have 6 or more pain points of all the buckets that I created, right? So I mean that to me was working well. It's what I was doing for data before the AI stuff. But yeah, I mean I think that works. I think the way that they have it set up, it's pretty interesting. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing on the back end, as far as the scoring system. But I'm telling you, man, like cold callers reach out, and then they do get it's a conversation. They'll get pushback, as well, like everything else. But they're having a lot more conversations than with regular data.
Question for you. So, would you go back to cold calling now that you got the taste of pay per lead and someone that's an inbound lead? Would you go back to cold calling?
The only way we do it, and my next question was going to revolve around this. If it's like a solo caller, you have really, really niche lists, or if you do go, you have a couple callers and it's just niche down 80-20 or lead pipes data across your top 20 markets if you're going nationwide. And that's all it is. And so it may be an at scale cold calling campaign, but it's across 20 different markets of like 100 leads per market would be the only other way. And it'd have to be like, we'd have to see a great, great return. Because the biggest thing is now, like, we get so many leads coming in. Just to stop what we're doing and go to that other lead costs us money because we know this lead is going to close today, right? Like that inbound lead, I'm going to convert that within the next 30 to 60 days versus that cold calling lead. It's going to take my team 6 months to convert. And we don't want to, like, yes, it could be a good chase down, but with what I want to build like sales killers. When you're cold calling, it's not necessarily the same type of culture. Like with us, bro, it's like get them on the phone, talk to them for 30 minutes to an hour. Let's get a contract signed within the next 30 minutes of that. Like
right. It's different.
It's completely different than like, hey, Sally, I know we talked like a month ago. How's everything been going? Has anything changed? Have you talked to your brother-in-law's sister about possibly selling the house yet? Because you know it's a deal. You know they're going to fucking sell the house. You've already gotten the numbers, the condition, and then it's just kicking that can down the road. I think it's just it's like, what type of business do you want to build?
Let me I just want to make an observation, right? Like, it's important to think about exactly what part of your state or what stage of business you're in, right?
Yeah, where
If
you're
you're where you at in your business and developing your business and building your business. I highly, highly, highly encourage anybody who's getting started in our space to cold call, to pick up the phone, if they're not door knocking, right? Door knock first, if not cold call. Why? Because you're generating leads at that point. You're having conversations, and 3, it's building that thicker skin. It's giving you the reps that we need to have, right? And I've seen it 1,000 times where people have, I have $15,000-$20,000. I'm gonna, take the shortcut. I'm gonna pay for, or even burn through just PPL type of stuff, paper lead type, and they'll get decent stuff that could have been closed, but they don't have the skill set to close it yet because they haven't had enough conversations. So it's important to understand, like, we're all at different stages in the business. I mean, we're 20 plus deals on a regular basis, and it's just different than when somebody's getting kicking it off and getting started. You have to go through that trench work. And I think that's just important to understand and to put out there, right? It's not, do not get confused and about, okay, listen, I'm gonna just roll all this out. Like, there's a reason to the madness when it comes to, I feel like, to the order of things when it comes to the marketing and how we get the leads in.
Let me just piggyback. I'll piggyback on what Rafael said. I couldn't agree with you anymore. I'm juiced when you said that, dude, because I hear so many people that come to me. And mail is what works best for us. Mail by far is our number one channel, right? But mail is expensive. We all know that. The leads tend to be higher. But if you've never talked to a seller before, you've never gone through the interaction, you've never sat in a living room and made an offer or tried to do an offer virtually, you don't want the very first time that you're doing that to be with a lead that's actually high on the motivation scale and ready to close, dude. Because even if it's a lead that's a laydown, you're probably going to screw it up anyways. Do you know what I'm saying? Without doing that work. So it's like, it's more cost effective. You put the reps in, you build the skill gap that's there for most people at the beginning. And then when those closable leads do show up, you've actually done some of the work to get you more prepared. So I love it. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I would say we would go back, but it'd have to be very, very niche down. We would go back, but it'd have to be very, very niche down. What I had a ton more.
There's evolution to. I think that's such a great point, because you have to go through the evolution. You can't skip all those steps of the skill building and the muscle memory and just getting the repetitions to know what a deal looks like and feels like. Yeah. Because to just go out and try to go after deals that are supposed to be easier, they're not going to be easier. Right? There are people that their motivation is aligning probably more closer to sell now.
Right.
And that's why the people who are more experienced are paying for that now. Right. So I think that's why I tell all my students, I was like, dude, go out there and start networking, talking to people, network, go find deals in your network first, because you're going to be talking to other people that are at different skill levels. You're going to be talking to people that understand what you're doing and what you're looking for. And don't go out there and spend a ton of money right out the gate. But if you have some experience, then there are some quicker ways to get more consistent deals, which is always interesting, right? For us, we thrive in trying to learn, right? What are the ways that we can improve and shortcut and start to get the results we're wanting, and usually it's just small little tweaks.
Yeah.
Once you get past creating consistency in your business, having the skills to close those deals.
Well, I have another thing for you, and I got this from Rafael. Rafael has taught me the most about business out of people I know, as far as how to think of it as an organization and as like a machine, right? That's like what I've learned a lot from Rafael. The one reason I would tell you to cold call and hire on cold callers, when we staff up cold callers for people, it's usually people doing 1 to 2 deals a month. And I tell them not to go through a service. I tell them if they're doing it on their own, get used to leading a team every day and hiring and firing and holding people accountable to certain metrics and knowing how to do that. And that way you're not doing that with $5,000 a month employees. You're doing it with, hey, this person costs me $900 a month. I know how to go. I know how to hire. I know how to interview. I can spot all the red flags. I can build, because building call magicians is what gave me all those skills to be able to go out there and do that consistently. And like, I'm not worried if I have to go hire on someone else. I know how to hire. I know how to lead teams at a high level. I know how to manage sales teams. And I would have not gotten that unless I had like internal cold callers and doing it that way. And I think that is huge for people. If you are at that kind of brink and you're thinking about it, it'll help you out immensely. And it doesn't have to be forever, but get used to doing it. Because if you want to grow in business, you got to be able to lead.
You've got to mitigate your risk financially at the beginning a little bit, dude. And you can't, I think it is irresponsible if you got 15, 20 grand, like in the example that you're saying. It just does not make sense to jump in without all of these other puzzle pieces there. Cause like you're launching your boat, it's full of leaks and you just don't even know where those leaks are. So you're just going to start taking on water immediately and it's going to turn into craziness right out of the gate.
Yeah, and then I think one of the scariest things that happens too is like it'll hit us at a psychological level. I know it hits students at a psychological level. Then it's that, self-worth kicks in, all those internal conversations. I'm not built for this. This sucks. This is, I'm not good enough, because I don't know how to negotiate. I don't know how to, and I think it's a matter of putting in the reps. It's hard to put in the reps, when you're getting, the selected laid down leads and you don't have that, that tenacity yet.
Yeah.
Like it's believe it or not, man, it's a skill that we have to fine tune as we go through it.
I got more. Ooh. All right. So what is the best way to use AI to automate your business and create SOPs today? I mean, you're the only man I know who's taught himself how to code to make his business easier.
Well, I mean,
and you're a huge tech guy, even though you say you're not.
Yeah, I mean, I geek out on that. I'm lazy, dude. I like to be, I like to create stuff that's gonna do the repeated work for me. But no, I think I haven't rolled out, AI too much in the business. I mean, the stuff that I've been doing is I've been doing it for a while, and I mean, it's worked. One thing that I would recommend in terms of when ops and processes and SOPs and all that is document everything that you're doing in your business. So it doesn't matter if you have a coach and they give you the blueprint. Your operation is going to be it's almost like an individual, right? Like it's going to be individual to a lot of like the nuisances of how things are done. You're going to get frameworks from people, but your operation is different than mine. Your operation is different than mine. Even though we're in the same vertical, we do a lot of stuff. We're always talking about like, hey, what's working for you? Because we have different ways of growing the business. Now, when you're doing stuff, anything that's new in your business, record it, get loom.com. So good. It's like $10 a month. It's stupid. They should charge more. I hope they're not listening. But it's a really good, it's a screen capture type of software. But you're recording, for example, right? You record even a training when you're training somebody to file a memorandum or send out a contract, that kind of stuff. Everything that you're doing in the business, even if you're a solopreneur, just do it with the thought that I'm going to plug in somebody into this role tomorrow, and they need to know what to do. I don't want to do it again. Right. Now, when you go through Loom, one thing that they just added, it's fairly recent. They have a create a document AI feature in there. Right. So they combine.
Oh, that's so sexy. Will it do it because I know I can use ChatGPT now to make me like a flow chart too. Like, hey, flow this out for me. Will it do that for you?
No, I'm not sure. I haven't used it for that. For that, I use Lucid charts, and I just map out my own.
So it'll make you a lucid chart with ChatGPT now. It's super sexy. And
Yeah.
you post it in the lucid chart.
I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna try it out. Um, and um, and okay, so you have the create a document one, and then you have SOP tab, and then you have a step by step thing. So literally, like I'll take a VA, I'll take my transaction coordinator, for example, and I'll walk her through a process. I'll record it on Zoom, and or Loom, or whatever you have available. But the point is, you upload the document or the video to Loom, and it'll give you a bullet point, a breakdown of like the step by step process of everything that you talked about in the video, the links, the websites. I mean, it's pretty crafty, but it just makes the whole SOP building a lot easier, because all you're doing is you're talking to somebody else as you're going through the screen. So when we start doing that kind of stuff, and it's not the sexiest thing, it's not like sending out a contract or getting back a signature. It's not you don't get that rush, right? But it's the thing that builds the freedom. You know what's sexy? Getting deals locked up when you're at the beach, and and contracts are coming in. It's like, oh, cool, we got EMD. Oh, awesome, we just recorded. The only way that happens without you having to be there every 3 minutes for your team is when you document stuff. So
why do so many people struggle with that specific thing that you're talking about right now? Not locking things up on the beach, but taking the extra time to do the trainable moment, record and document the trainable moment, right? Instead of just jumping in and doing it themselves, because so many people can just through hustle and just grind, they can get to, whatever. Yeah, they can get to it like making good money, and they can escape their all that stuff, right? But I see so many people, myself included, for a long time, we just struggled with getting past that plateau and actually taking through that. You've obviously done it successfully. I'm sure you've observed other people. Why do you think people struggle with that?
Let me ask you this: how tired were you when you started doing it?
When I got ready to actually make the change, I was exhausted, dude. I was exhausted.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was like, this just can't go on anymore, because I don't my head don't have any more work capacity to do all this.
Yeah. So I feel it becomes one of those things. I mean, we're building this ball. I mean, we have this ball of wax, and we're shaping it as we go. Right. Our business is our baby. I mean, there comes a point where it's feeding your family, it's feeding the family of your employees. So it's hard to let go of that. I mean, in my perspective, it's hard to let go of that, responsibility. So we micromanage, right? We have this, this good, either way we put it, or any way we put it, we're going to have control issues when it comes to releasing, the lifeline of the business. If it's the lead generation, if it's hiring a new acquisition, did you run the comps right? Did you do that? I mean, even when we hire somebody, a lot of times we step in, we don't let them perform, and we'll create crutches for them. I can tell you, I can pinpoint the date when I said, you know what, dude, it's systems. I'm going down the systems route. I got burned out. Mid-20s, 28, 20, well, not been 20, but 27, 28 years old. I got burned out. I was exhausted. I was dead tired. I was pissed off to go to work. I didn't even want to walk in the office. No smiles on my face. I mean, it was just like, and I, I look at myself, it's like, man, this is not me. This is like, what's going on? I just have so much, so many things I got to do, so many things, which is bullshit, because I had a bunch of people behind me, right? I was getting in their way.
I think that's what holds back most people from growth and getting to where they wanted to go from the very beginning anyways.
Yeah.
Right. We all start our business because we want to have freedom.
Yeah.
We want to have more in life. And we end up creating an environment that's actually worse than you were in before sometimes. Right. And we kind of trap ourselves. And the way to get out of that trap, and at least it was for myself, was to create the systems to become a better leader.
Right.
And have better training in place. And I know you are obsessed with those things. And I couldn't agree more. Like, my dream is always about spending more time with my family and being able to go hang out on the beach. And that's what a lot of my time is these days. Do I still work my butt off? Of course, because I know that there's just so much potential out there. And I know I'm not where I know I can be. And I want to be there. But it's all about systems, man. I mean,
the thing is that we never get to that space, man. We're evolving beings. We're always growing. That's part of growth. We have the goalpost set right here, and when we get to that goalpost, we're like, oh, maybe I can push it a little further.
Yeah.
And then it's another leg of the journey. I mean, that's I feel like we have to fall in love with the journey itself.
So you have to enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process, and build it up as you go. But it's a really good point. I feel like we either do that because we have control issues, We're scared of
For sure.
losing what we're building, right?
We worked so
Um,
hard for it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or you want to be a perfectionist. You want it to
Yeah.
be absolutely perfect before you kind of let it go, and that's not going to happen either. So
Are you more of a perfectionist or is it a control thing?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm okay letting go the things that I don't want to do. So
Yeah.
very early on, I let go of some operations, admin, bookkeeping, project management. Right after a while, I was just like, okay, this
what
is
about
fine.
acquisitions?
Acquisitions was the last, dude, and I held on to it forever because I always say I was good at it. Right. I also there's a part of me even to this day that still likes it too. So I still get a little bit of a
Yeah.
charge out of doing a deal. Right. And then you couple that with like if I don't go over there and close this deal, but I give Scott, for example, who may not be operating at the same like potential that Jason is, if he doesn't go do it, we may be leaving 40, 50 grand on the table. Right. And to me, that's a big, that's a big miss, dude, if we miss on that, dude. So Jason is just going to step in and do it. And I stayed in that place for probably 2.5, 3 years. And it was just exhausting. And it reached a point where hand was forced a little bit. I was also really tired to do it. And I was just like, if it has to be right now. And it was the best thing that I've ever done, dude. Cause you've said like now 2024, I've been involved, maybe talking to sellers on less than as many occasions that I can count on one hand, dude. And that's been such an awesome feeling, dude. So it really does work when you're willing to pay, when you're willing to put the effort into document and start doing all that stuff.
What about you, Dino? I feel like you're way more of a perfectionist.
A perfectionist is definitely a problem. What was the other one again?
What is it?
Control issues. I mean,
Control.
yeah.
Okay. So as I'm thinking about day-to-day things now, where I'll step in, where I've told myself to stay away from, I'd say it's leaning more towards the perfectionist side. Naturally, I like to control things too. I like things to be done a certain way, but it's probably leaning towards because I want it to be done a certain way, right? We've done enough stuff together now at this point where you could kind of tell, like we can kind of vibe off each other's personalities. Where it's like, let this person do this, let this person do this, and so that becomes a real struggle for all of us as we're striving for greatness and want to do the best. And I think that's a great example where it's like, man, if I don't do this thing, we're losing money. That becomes a really hard thing, and then it starts to become a question of, well, is it always going to be that way, or is it a talent? Is it a personnel on the team problem that I need to resolve? And I had some good friends throughout the years that pushed me off the ledge to get out of my own way, because it was always a performance thing. Like, I can do it better, so why would I give that up? I can run escrow better. Why would I give that up? I can close the deal better. Why would I give that up? And it took a lot. Acquisitions was one of the first things I gave up. And that was really hard because it's not like we were balling out at the time. Like a lot was riding on the success of this new person we brought in, but I knew it was necessary for me to get out of the way and start working on the business.
Right.
And not deal by deal by deal, because you're right. It was exhausting already at that point of having to take every call at every time, at lunch, at dinner, late at night, early in the morning. And I knew if we wanted to go to that next level, I had to give that up and start bringing in other people.
That's the epiphany, I think, just even now talking through this. I think one of the things that you have to look at is zoom out a little bit, because we're so involved in the minutia in the day to day. As soon as you zoom out and you look at the opportunity cost of what it's costing you to step in every day, because we think numbers, we're always kind of bottom line people in that, and you really project out what that opportunity cost. It's a lot, dude. And not only is our business grown, we're thriving financially this year. And it's not like I'm doing less work. I mean, as far as like the amount of work, I'm just doing different stuff that positively impacts me fulfills me in a different way. So it doesn't feel like the monotonous stuff that I've been doing every day for the last 3 years. It feels like a new challenge. I feel like I'm evolving and growing, and all those are really cool feelings, man. And that evolution never ends too, because I can imagine, right? Like you stepping up to commercial or industrial things, you've got to evolve and become a new version of Rafael every single time you break through one of these plateaus.
Yeah, and it's scary because you don't know what's coming, right? Like, but I feel like if you're an entrepreneur, you're innately wired, for that challenge.
Yeah.
So it's part of that journey. I feel it is. The two schools of thought, I guess, that kind of guided me or helped me get through that was one, thinking about what's my highest and best, right? Every single day I have them written out in my notes, and when I journal and all that stuff, like I have to go back throughout the day. I have to go back, what's my highest and best? Is my highest and best comping? Is my highest and best talking to a seller? Is my highest and best this point? Like it's at this point, it's not if I have a team,
Yeah.
right? If I have somebody to handle that kind of stuff. So what's my highest and best? Is building relationships. I mean, heck, on the plane on the way here, I feel like I made a very powerful connection, right? Like that's the type of stuff that happens when you're focusing on your highest and best. And then the second one right after that is the who, not how. So okay, who can I lean in or lean on to come in and help me with this? Now, how can I figure this thing out? Spend 6 months trying to work it through and then get some results. Like who can I bring in as part of that collaboration, that partnership, that either employees or somebody to, I mean, I was telling you, I reached out to Max last week, and shout out to Max. And hey, dude, can you do me a favor? I mean, like I'm calling in a favor. Like, can you come in and then just sit down with my acquisitions team and walk us through your process? I mean, he has a different process than I do, so I want him to have different perspectives, right? But as opposed to me learning the entire damn thing, and changing my entire way of closing, can I just bring the guy that already knows it? So I feel like when we do that kind of stuff, we take leaps and bounds in the progress that we're looking for as entrepreneurs, and then we just stay focused on the stuff that really makes a dent, right? That makes a difference.
That's good. Wow.
One thing I've learned from you is you're in a constant battle against yourself, and really your business is dictated upon how much you can grow personally. Right? Because I know you're a huge mindset guy, and I've got a lot from you in that way. What are you consistently doing to grow? Because I don't think I know very many people who learn like you do.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot, but thank you. I appreciate the compliment, dude. I mean, I think we can be theorists. Like we can sit there and then read all the books and then be theoretical, right, about the stuff that we're learning, the stuff that we're practicing. How to. But once you get your ass in hot water per se, and you actually move towards a goal, you move to that next challenge, you move outside of whatever your comfort zone is into new spaces. Like it's gonna call a different version of you to show up, and then we're forced. Man, I've always, I feel like my biggest moments of growth have happened right in the middle of adversity. I mean, I remember one of the I feel like the first time I said, this is it, I'm never gonna be broke, is when I was looking out the window and they were repoing my car. I had a baby on the way, and like that was all kinds of things were going wrong, right? But after that, it's like, okay, like shit just got serious. And this is 2007, man. It's wild. Like the stuff that happened in the next following couple of years was massive, because like there's no turning back. But I feel like, I mean, that's a let's call it a traumatic event, and we start creating ideas and engrams and behaviors right after that kind of experience. But when you're able to do it because it's time for me to grow, right? And then just kind of put yourself out of that comfort zone. I mean, I feel like that's the most powerful type of people, because that, okay, cool, I've grown in this area. I wonder what else. And you stay curious about life. You stay curious about the possibilities. You stay curious about, the potential of who else can you impact, or how else can you move forward and just make a bigger dent, right? I mean, what else are we here for? And I feel like when you actively do it and actually take action doing that kind of stuff, that's when you force yourself to apply all that shit that we read about, to apply all that stuff that we get in meditation. And that's really what creates a catalyst. That's what creates the change. Then the only thing to do after that is keep learning, because now you got to figure shit out.
Yeah, exactly. Bro, I'm a big believer in flying first class and putting yourself in very good environments that will is the word serendipity, like create opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Right. If you put yourself in money environments, you go to masterminds, you fly first class, you stay at the nice hotel, you go to charity events, whatever it is, you are going to put yourself in rooms where deals get done and money's made. So just tell them about like your flight over here and like how that could be something big for you. You don't know how. And deals don't just happen overnight because you met a person, your life changes, but things change over time. You can just bring in more opportunities for yourself.
Well, first off, shout out to my boys, because they put me in first class on the way in. So I practically, it was right there with the pilot, you know. So, but yeah, on the way in, I met this cool, really cool dude. His name is Victor. We were talking shop the entire time, but he came in, and you know how we have that whole, talk to the people around you mentality, right? He was on the phone and he was talking about VAs, and he was talking about a marketing campaign. He was talking about like man, this guy does real estate, he does digital marketing, it does something, but it's got to be in a vertical. Like we speak the same language. He's just in, I think he's just in a different town. That's all. So I asked him, like, do you run a VA company? Do you have? So we started chatting it up. Turns out the guy he hosts big events, and they do a lot. He's buying HVAC companies in town. It's in the home services, area, whatnot. So we ended up, just really, I mean, connecting, right? He has a couple of events coming up. I might end up, speaking at those events and introduce our vertical to theirs, right? Which is a really, really cool opportunity because it's a whole different group of people. It's it's still investors and people that want to create something, right? But I feel like we think everybody knows about the industry that we're in. But it's a very small world, man. It truly is. But yeah, if I wasn't, if I wasn't in that spot, actually, that you guys put me in that seat, today, I wouldn't have, had the conversation. The demographic, sitting next to me would have been different, right? And I try to do that too. Like when I fly, I try to fly first class and then get to the nice places. And I used to feel like it was a bougie thing. Like, no, it's like, nah, I don't need that. But it's not about that. It's not about, how expensive it is, or it's about, playing or having a seat at the right tables. You go to a nice restaurant, your conversation is going to be different. Even if you go to a nice bar, right? At a restaurant, you sit down, you're going to have a very different conversation than if you go to just a dive bar, right? And talk about sports. Like so that kind of stuff, man. I feel like we have to be intentional about the places that we want to plug ourselves into. But what you're bringing up right now is, I mean, it was a big stigma for me for a long time. Like, I'm not going to pay for masterminds. I'm not going to, no, like I can figure stuff out. And lo and behold, when I started doing that kind of stuff is when I started having great conversations. The only reason I know you guys is because that type of event.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, pay to play. Stop messing around.
All right. I got some more. We'll move into these daily topics. Phoenix market, your top strategies. We already went over that. Driving for dollars, went over that. Jeez. All right, let's cover this Kamala Harris thing.
Let's go. Close up the show with that.
All right. We'll hop into this. All right. So Kamala Harris, what is it? Announced or proposed is the word I'm looking for. A $25,000 down payment assistance credit if she gets elected that she would try and put in place that would help the housing market and help people who couldn't afford houses. Number one, I personally think $25,000 is an enormous tax credit towards a down payment when someone could get an FHA loan and it's not going to be like a huge amount, right? So number one, I think it's just overkill, even if it is needed. And I mean, what's 3%? I'm trying not to do public math, because it never goes well. But I mean, off $1 million house, what's 3%? 30 grand?
No.
3%?
Yeah.
30 grand.
Yeah. So 30 grand on $1 million house, right? Like, I feel like,
Yes. Go. Yep.
right. Yep. So I think 25 grand is overkill, regardless if it's in place, because the majority of people are going to get an FHA loan who are first-time home buyers. Like, no one's going to go put 20% down if they don't need to, in my opinion. Like most, and you guys flip more than I do. Out of all the first-time home buyer product that you sell, how many of them are FHA loans?
Yeah, I'd say maybe not I'd say 40% at least, could be approaching at least half, because a lot of the stuff that we flip for lots of different reasons is we want to stay at or below the median price. We want to stay where there's scarce inventory, there's lots of buyers, and a lot of times that's going to be FHA. I think.
What do you guys think this would do to the real estate market or the housing market?
My initial opinion and thought is this: we've already seen what happens when you just put artificial money into the economy.
Incentives.
Yes. Yeah. So when you just start pumping this money into the economy, that money is going to come from somewhere, first of all, and then we've already lived through that for the last 3 years as far as what's going to happen. So we have not solved the inventory problem that I think most people are still having. I do see inventory creeping up a little bit, but it's nowhere near like a balance as far as like demand for buyers and sellers. And I still think if you do something like that, you're going to create an influx of people, and we're going to see prices continue to go up.
I mean, when you're talking those numbers, right? But dude, it's now buyers have to pay their own 3%, right? Like, so this is popping up. This is a very real thing that's happening too. So broker compensation, right, changed as well. So now instead of the seller, covering all the fees for the sales, now the buyers have to come in with their part, right? There's ways around it. They're getting super clever in a lot of these states and counties, but I think it's gonna be a hit, right, to kind of wash off some of that. And granted, people may not be buying all of them, but maybe buying $1 million homes. But I think some of it is gonna go to that. It's basically, the way that I see it, it's I don't think honestly that it would create that big of a ripple effect, because we still have debt to income. They still have to qualify for all these things. The rates haven't gone down. Who knows how far, they did go down a little bit, but not to where they're promising yet. So until all that stuff actually clicks, it's hard to peg it, right? But I think the basic stuff that's always been there, it's still going to be after that $25,000, which is total debt, which is, how much are you earning? And how much do you qualify for based on the debt to income, right? So, yeah, it's a consumer-based mentality, really. It helps for instant gratification, I feel, but I don't think, it would truly make a big dent. Inventory plays a big part of it too. So, yeah.
So I think there's a lot to unpack here. If we try to unpack the whole picture here, and I dust off the economics degree I got in college.
Oh, Captain America college degree.
Ooh, yeah, got one of them.
You killed it on Deadpool, by the way.
Yeah. Did I do good? Thanks.
Yeah. Everybody thought it was you, but no, it was Torch.
So I think what's interesting about it is, I think the question that's good for us to ask and try to unpack as well is, why do you think she's proposing this? Do we think it's because she thinks it's going to stimulate the economy, that it's going to allow for home buyers to get into the market and that have been priced out? Now this is going to help? What do you think the reason is as to why she thinks this is a good idea?
Honestly, I think that the reason behind it is it's what the reason for the wall and everything else is just votes. They're appealing to a certain demographic, right? A certain market, or a big part of the population too, like that's going to qualify for that incentive and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, man, it's they're moving levers and just kind of playing the whole political game. I really don't think that it's I think it's gonna the long-term effect of something like that is gonna hurt a lot more than what it would help at the beginning. Again, it's pumping money into the economy. Where's it gonna come from?
Where's it coming from? It's coming from us.
We have
right?
trillions in deficit. Like, where's it gonna?
We're already in a bad spot.
Yeah.
That's why I asked that question first before giving my response, because I think the reason why it's being done is relevant. I think it's just an optics thing. Yeah. I think it's just hey, let's feel good about something we're going to do to help out the people who are likely our voter demographic. She also said that we're going to be building 3 million homes. Where have they been the past 4 years, by the way?
Yeah.
If this is so important, why hasn't this been done? So I think it's interesting. I do think it's a vote thing. But what's the impact of it? Are we high supply or low supply right now?
We're low supply.
We're low supply. And demand is pretty high. I think demand has softened because the interest rates were risen. And that's why that was a result of trying to slow down the market and slow down the price increases. So if we're bringing new money in, that's in theory free.
That was a result. Let me go a step further back. That was a result of pumping money into the market.
Yes, exactly.
So we're doing
let's
the same
put some more in,
again.
Right?
Yeah.
And now there's a new wave of buyers that have been created who are armed with cash. We have the same supply amount, but demand is higher. What does that do to the prices? They go up more. So what are we doing here? We're doing something that's counterintuitive to the end result we're looking for. We're trying to help people get into the market, but the inventory that they're going after is now going to go up probably by $25,000 or more, and it's going to counteract what is trying to be done. But now we're going to be in a higher debt deficit, And I don't think it's going to help.
You know, what's interesting is we're all real estate investors on here, and prices going up for us, like in the short term, necessarily isn't a bad thing. And I think we're all kind of cautious of like what happens with this, right? So it's like the people that in the very immediate, like interim after effect of this happening, that would see the biggest benefit in their businesses and in their pockets book are probably people like us that are bringing inventory to the market because now we're going to make more money and we're still cautious. And it's just a counterpoint to what you were saying about people still need to qualify. They've already done some of this experimenting in California in the recent years. Because, well, they did in California, they called it, I think, the Dream for All Act. And they did 2 iterations of it. And do you know how fast that money went, where they gave away free money to cover down payment to stuff? I mean, it was less than probably 72 hours that they released the money and it was gone. I mean, it was so crazy because I'm connected with all the lenders out here and they're all saying, hey, we have all these buyers. And then 3 days later on Facebook, the money's gone. Right. So I think be careful what you ask for, I think is what we're all saying. Right. Yeah. You know, I think we got to be really, really cautious with stuff like that. And you're 100% right. This happens on both sides of when we get to election season. Everybody, whoever it is going to say something that's going to try to get the votes, dude. And then it's always is there actually going to be some real delivery of something like this and some meat on this when it comes time to, you know, after this is over. So who knows?
And I think from a deficit standpoint, I'm not even on board with like student loan forgiveness, just for the fact like that's money that the government needs to take in to keep the deficit in check. If you forgive all these fucking student loans, bro, that's like one of our biggest assets, right? Like as far as on the balance sheet. So like I don't believe in it that way just because of the deficit. But I will say, and just like how Jason highlighted, there is huge opportunities from following government. What is the word I'm looking here? Yeah, like with the ERC program. One of my friends made hundreds of millions of dollars with the ERC program. The Tommy dude who we talked about, followed something that the government did. Saw, I was like, hey, how could I do this? Yeah, bam, bro. He sold the company for $200 million a couple of years after that, right? So if you can identify the opportunity and you just pay attention to what's going on, our friends who do stuff with like HomeKey out here, that's still a government opportunity. Your friend who developed all of those units, right? There's all sorts of amazing opportunities if you can pay attention to like, hey, this is going to get passed. There's going to be ripple effects. What are like the second and third order consequences that are going to happen here?
That's what's crazy, dude. Like, because when you really think about that, so you brought up HomeKey, right? And so after COVID, there was a bunch of money pushed into Project HomeKey, and a lot of that got funded to help with housing homeless people, right? And then there was an article in the LA Times. I still have it saved on my phone because my sister at one point worked for City of LA in their homeless department, right? She worked in that department, and in the article, they did all the accounting of what it cost in the city of Los Angeles for them to house one homeless person, all of the money that got spent, and it was north of $600,000, bro. North of $600,000 per unit. I'll show you guys the article after we get off. I have it saved on my phone. Yes. That's so insane. All of that money that got spent when they did all the accounting and everybody went to do it, $600,000 per unit per one homeless person. And I'm like, are these the people that we should be entrusting to like solve the real estate problems when it's costing that much? It just doesn't make any sense. And that's why I believe that a lot of times, I'm not a lot of times, most of the time, the government needs to be shrinked, and we need private entrepreneurs like us that are involved, like having some oversight on what's going on, right? Because people need to look at the bottom line and like what's being spent. When you look
there's
at that
nothing,
it just doesn't make any
because
sense.
like if you look at one of the greatest companies that's ever came through, like all these investor studies, a company called Aerodyne. I was like, bro, I listened to all these podcasts about it. I'm like 2 podcasts deep. It's a fucking manufacturing company for military and industrial parts. That's all it is. And then they skyrocket their margins to like 300% because the government has to pay them because these guys are the only manufacturers in America.
All of that stuff, because it's like all that money, you have to pay prevailing wage. You have to pay all these things. So it's like it baked into the cost of this stuff. So it's just the most inefficient way to provide housing. It's just hard.
So I think if they did anything, there should be a tax credit around developers getting more inventory to the market faster. That is like what needs to be done. I grew up in Utah. We were out there a ton. There's a housing shortage, like legitimate. We don't have enough houses. We can't build fast enough. There's tons of people want houses. That is where you would honestly get the most bang for your buck. It'd probably help the economy more. And then I think the more you can at least help out the entrepreneur, the more taxable income that's coming in, right? And it goes that way because that tax credit will happen. you're still going to tax those motherfuckers out the ass when they go and sell these properties. Or you just make it so, like with the nonprofit stuff, hey, if you do sell it, yeah, there's this caveat, but you're going to have to now pay 35% instead of 33%. That 2% percentage points over this entire thing is going to be quite a bit of cash, right? Or whatever way it is. And so that's what I think honestly should be considered, but obviously no one's listening to us.
Remind me what the tax incentive program was for building in certain areas and redeveloping, most commonly commercial.
Opportunity zones are fucking amazing. By the way, so like opportunity zones, if you
that's an example of what you were saying, which I think is an amazing point. Rather than leaving it in the government's hand to give away 25,000 to each person, go incentivize the builders, go incentivize the entrepreneurs who are probably going to care about the bottom line more and create more opportunity than leaving it up to the people who don't know what the hell they're doing.
But the problem, and so the optics of that look like, and then we end up going in circles with this. It's like, oh, the rich guy's getting richer and this and that. But in reality, it is ultimately
it would never be
not
touched.
so wasteful in spending $600,000 to house one person, right? And it just doesn't really make sense. But it's hard to get everybody to wrap their head around that and agree with that. So you got to find your lane and just stick with that, because there's some problems that we're not going to solve on our podcast today.
Dude, that's my motto, man. I look at, okay, this is my bubble. If you're lucky enough, you're gonna be part of my bubble.
Yeah, that's right. I love it.
Yeah, I'll take care of my bubble. I'll worry about my bubble. And there's a lot of shit that happens outside of us, right? And not that we can't absolutely, have an impact or whatnot, but I feel like a lot of the stress that comes to us, will come from stuff that are outside of our control. It's like, man, I mean, it's my responsibility to maybe not fix world hunger or homelessness and all that stuff, but fix my own shit for the time being.
That's right.
And I think we go back to the stuff that works, right, for us. But there's so many moving parts. I think it's confusing by design. It's hard. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't talked to a single not that I talk to a lot of politicians either, but I have had, a few conversations with a few smart people, and they can give me some insights on certain things, but at the end of it, like the grand picture, like what's going on. It's hard. It's hard to peg it. It's hard to understand that like nothing. I feel like nothing makes sense right now in the world. So I mean, we just have to go back to like you said, our lanes and carve that out.
I'd rather give some tax incentives to Elon Musk
and let him go.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, just let the man
which
go
frees up capital for him to go hire more people, which by the way creates more taxable income, so that they can go solve some problems, they can go build some houses, they can go do this stuff, rather than
land a rocket on the moon and bring it back and land it back on Earth.
Bro,
Give the man more fucking money.
give him more money.
Give the man more fucking money.
More, and it's less about
Funny
giving
money.
him more money.
yeah, all you gotta do is print it.
Yeah,
Bro, just give the man money. I
Yeah,
promise you he's going
I
to do
know.
something with it. It's going to be great.
they're already printed for it. But rather than just giving it away, I think you've got to create opportunities, and that's where I think there's a lack of creativity of people sitting in those positions.
Rafael, how much does politics even go into your decision making in business?
None.
Like no reading, nothing.
No, I don't watch the news. I don't read the newspapers. I mean, at the end of the day, we're gonna get, the hammer's gonna come down. Like it's gonna come down on everybody. There's. I like to look for opportunity. For example, in like stock opportunity and that sort of thing. But politics. I mean, I'm just gonna keep doing the thing until the wall is like right in front of me, because it may or may not get there. Like, so.
You think there's anything with this election that's going to change what you do in your business?
Depends on which way it goes. It definitely is. Not necessarily, me and the way that I go after it, but the strategies and some pivots that we'll have to take. I feel on one, how the market goes, what happens to pricing and all that stuff. Like right now, I can't bank on anything. So I learned to just keep stay the course until the course actually changes, right? So. But yeah, I don't know. It keeps me sane too. Like if
Control
By staying out of it?
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, think about it, right? Like most of the stress that we get, and like this is just psychology. Most of the stress that we get or that we take part of, it's created by stuff that's it's not even real. It's
Outside
just
of our
ideas.
control.
It's outside of our control. It's not even real. It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean,
Marcus Aurelius
that
quote.
feeds in. Yeah, it feeds into what we do on a daily basis, the energy that we bring to our team, our positivity on the opportunity and stuff that we see around us, and like it's too much, man. It's just like I like my mental health and and just paying a lot of attention to shit like that. It just doesn't make sense because I don't think anybody understands it. So yeah.
Jason, you have any comments that we need to attend to? Dino, any comments like
No,
in the chat?
This was good. No, I've been keeping an eye on it. We're pretty good right now. Nothing.
In the chats.
Yep.
Do we have anything in StreamYard?
Somebody said supply side economic right there. Another person said opportunity zones.
Shanae says she loves us.
Oh, what's going on, Shanae? Shout out Simply. All right, guys. I think if you guys don't have anything else, that's all I got. Thank you. We got the world's sexiest Mexican here. I mean, bro, he's gonna be here for a couple more hours. If you guys are watching this live, come down to Bitwise South Stadium at 6 p.m. I think it's in about an hour.
Bring your questions.
Bring your questions.
Shout out to Rafael, guys. If you're watching this now, you're watching it later. What's been so cool for us as we've grown through our career is being able to connect with people like Rafael and be able to, find ways. This is one thing we always say: find ways to add value to them first, and naturally value will come back to you. So you guys can support Rafael, follow him on Instagram, drop in his DMs, ask some questions, all that kind of stuff. It always makes it more fun.
Feeling is mutual, bro.
Where can people find out more about you?
I'm pretty active on social. IG is the biggest spot for me. So Rafael Cortez, CEO.
Did you have an accent when you said that?
Did you hear that?
Rafael Cortez.
Right? I mean,
Roll your R's, bro.
a double one.
Okay,
bro.
You got to put the
cancelled if I don't
NA.
have
You got to put the
why-
NA in there when you're typing it out or
Rafael
something.
Cortez,
Oh, you
CEO.
sexy
I said
motherfucker,
it in
bro.
Spanish.
Rafael Cortez.
Almost. Pretty good. It's pretty good.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If we don't see you tonight, we'll see you the next time. And again, don't forget like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow everybody else here, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Jason will be in Greece, shirtless.